Tom, press the bottom left button to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. I kept trying, but it said the host had muted me. Good evening. Chair Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Chair Odman.
Here.
Board Member Brandemart.
Here.
Board Member Harris.
Here.
Board Member James.
Here.
CRA Director Williams.
Here.
CRA Attorney Ansbro.
Here, hold on.
Oops. I keep unmuting Commissioner James, Board Member James, and she keeps getting muted again. Okay.
I'm muting myself. I was only going to unmute myself when I spoke, so we don't have a lot of people unmuted at the same time.
Okay.
But we have it set up where people can't unmute themselves for security reasons. So if you do mute yourself, we have to unmute you.
Okay.
I did not hear the city attorney say he was here. Oh. Okay. City attorney, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. The next item is citizens' comments. I have two citizens' comments here, but they're for a consent agenda item. I'm assuming that those individuals will pull that item and let them speak at that time. So are there any other individuals who are attending a meeting who needed to speak? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Administrative report memo, Executive Director.
Good afternoon, CRA Board. I'm going to be really brief this evening as we do have two presenters that are on the agenda for tonight. I just want to highlight that we had our 6th produce distribution last Friday, and that visited the American Legion Post 304, and they were very thankful for the produce that was able to be distributed to those in need. I also want to let you know that we had 2 recent donations to the patch of $1,500 each. One donor wanted to remain anonymous, and the other came from Next Gear Capital / Cox Automotive. And the $1,500 from each of those donors was requested to go towards a shade cover for one of the patches within the larger patch. And this will allow for extended crop variety during the summer months. So I just wanted to let you know that the patch was able to receive $3,000 in donations recently. We also have 3 virtual homebuyer education courses coming up, May 16th, May 23rd, and May 30th. Anyone that is interested, please email cra@danabeachfl.gov, cra@danabeachfl.gov for any of those 3 dates for our education. Aside from that, if you have any questions on the admin report, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions on the board? I have a couple questions, but.
Oh, I'm trying to find my raise hand button. There we go.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm struggling to find my notes here. So, and I meant to email about you this, Raquel. So if it's a longer answer, you can just send me. Is there anything that the CRA is specifically doing to help residents, like not with the unemployment aspect in terms of like a loan program? I mean, anything in terms of helping them like file any of these things? Like I've been told that the process is very complicated. Do we have anything addressing that? Anything for them that we've even been thinking about?
As far as residents are concerned, for any residents that have reached out to us, we have provided them with minor technical assistance in order to access the reemployment application system.
Mhm.
I know that the DEO is now accepting paper applications. Beyond that, we're not able to facilitate like in-person technical assistance on that. The application is very lengthy. I've taken a look at it. For those people that have some trouble with getting internet access, that's one of the things that we've heard is a problem for them to fill out the application online. We have told them that the application is available outside of City Hall via the paper application. For the businesses that we've reached out to, we've probably made contact with about 20 to 25 businesses per week since the pandemic started. And we have provided them with resources and alerts and to help residents specifically with doing the reemployment application.
What about any of the small businesses? Do we have anything through the CRA that we're doing with the businesses within the CRA, whether it's helping, helping them with their loans or just anything to help the small businesses? Are we doing anything?
Absolutely. We're reaching out to those businesses constantly to let them know what resources are available. One of the things I shared with you at the last board meeting is that although there are CRAs that are doing some programs to supplement the federal programs, the way that our CRA plan is set up at this point and our budget, we would have to do a plan amendment and a budget amendment. And based on the budgetary limitations that the city is now experiencing, we are taking measures to actually cut back on starting new programs or offering financial assistance that those businesses would need right now. So rather than do that, we've been letting those businesses know what is available to them, and that's part of why we have that we have on the agenda for tonight to reiterate some of what these businesses have already heard from us when we've reached out to them.
When you say that you've been reaching out to them to tell them what resources are available to them, what is available to them?
Okay, so for starters, there's the Paycheck Protection Program with the Small Business Administration, and Ms. Victoria Guerrero will dive a little deeper into that. The EIDL loan, we know that there are opportunities for faith groups, and I have been in touch with several of our pastors in Dania Beach and made them aware of that. We've shared information through social media on different opportunities between food distributions. Facebook is also offering opportunities for businesses. And so anything that we've been able to get our hands on as far as new or existing resources, we've made that available on our website, and we've also put that out through social media.
Okay, but there's no program specifically that we're going to be starting in response to this. Like you said, there's going to be no new programs for right now because of everything.
Well, when I initially reached out to you to let you know about what some CRAs are doing or what the discussion at the Florida Redevelopment Association was, that was when the first round of the Paycheck Protection Program was basically wrapping up. So we were seeing that, hey, maybe a lot of our businesses were not able to access some of those funds. Then round 2 of the Paycheck Protection Program funds came out, and so I felt like it would be a better use of our resources to take a look at our current budget, look at the ways that we're going to mitigate our losses for this year, as well as how we're going to move forward for next year. We do also have information, and I'll allow Ms. Guerrero to share on which on the level of business participation in the Paycheck Protection Program within Dania Beach. And so I'll allow her to share more information on that. Based on that, I felt like there was enough resources out there to at least allow businesses to get started with trying to get those funds that are available federally before we take a look at what we can do. Now, my plan going forward is to do a business survey to identify how many businesses were able to access funding through other sources, and then take a look at what the local business needs are so that we can evaluate if we need to make any changes for our upcoming plan with our budget and how we can address the business needs going forward.
For that business survey that you just mentioned, are you going to be doing all businesses within the CRA, or are you looking to get a slice of all the different, of small brand, whatever, of different businesses?
Well, I'd like to have as many businesses in the city participate in the survey. Although we do look at the businesses within the CRA district, we know that we're a community that stretches beyond the district, and anything that happens in the district is impacted by what happens outside of the district. So I would love to see businesses both inside the CRA and outside the CRA participate, just so we can get an idea of the businesses and the industries that are affected. There would be a limited expense to have businesses outside of the CRA participate in this. This is something we would do online and possibly through another mechanism, depending on how the restrictions are lifted. But we want to do this in June and July, and then take a look at how we can craft our budget accordingly as necessary.
And just so I understood you, you said that you would be looking to do businesses both inside and outside the CRA?
I think it would be appropriate to see the impact of businesses outside of the CRA. And because this is likely to be an online survey, there would not be an expenditure of funds outside of the CRA district for those specific businesses outside of the CRA. So I don't see where there would be any conflict in our resource allocation.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Raquel, just a couple of quick questions for you. At-home Danny Beach program, we still have the 2 houses that are not spoken for, correct?
That's correct. We still do get calls and emails. I got 2 today, 1 call and 1 email today of folks wanting to participate in the program. I think with COVID-19, perhaps there have been some folks that were previously interested who may not currently meet the qualification. I know there are a lot of people experiencing difficulties with employment. So we're taking that into consideration, but we do have folks that are scheduled to attend the May 16th virtual homebuyer education course. And again, as I mentioned, there's one on the 23rd and on the 30th. So we do have folks in the pipeline that are trying to get to the point where we can recommend them to you for approval for our assistance.
How many people are attending the May 16th?
I can provide that information to you via email.
Okay, I'm just curious. And then the other question I had was under your report, under number 6, the rebranding initiative, talking about the signs, that are being installed. The ones that needed to be fixed have been fixed. Is that correct?
Pardon?
There were some that I know you were readjusting with Public Works, correct?
Okay, so the Public Works participation was primarily about landscaping, and I did do a site visit with the Public Services Director and the Landscape Manager, not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before last. And we did go around to the different sites with the signs that had already been installed. And we've identified the types of landscaping that would be appropriate. There are additional signs that are gradually being installed. There was one sign that was, it appeared to be vandalized at Griffin Marine Park installation. Yes, it looked like maybe someone took a bat and did it. We don't know, but that sign will need to be repaired.
Okay.
So we're working with Public Services on landscaping. I've also received, as of yesterday, some renderings for larger signs at some of the locations that larger signs were requested to be at. And I will be sharing that with the team to review and identify if the size of those signs is appropriate and feasible and desired. And then we will be doing installation and then landscaping after that.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about a couple of the ones that I've seen that are on, they're up higher and they're on like stilts They're on like wooden, like what are used for the campaign signs, just the big signs. They're on the wooden things. I'm just wondering if there's something we can do to make them look a little more attractive, because when they're on those wooden posts, they're not, they just don't look as nice. I'm just wondering if there's something we can do to either make them lower to the ground or do something to maybe hide the wooden pieces or something. There's a couple. I can send you a couple.
So the signs do not have any wood. Any wood that you may see at the bottom is for a sign that was recently poured, and so they cannot remove those wood pieces until it passes inspection.
Okay.
So those wood pieces are like braces that they have at the bottom next to the cement.
Okay, I'll send you the ones that I saw in particular that were, I've had some issues, some of the neighbors on them as well, so I'll let you know about that offline and we can talk about it more then.
Okay.
Board member James has her hand up. Go ahead, you're unmuted. You should be unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I just had one question for Raquel. Could you all get with your social media person and make sure, or maybe I need to ask, is this possible? If you could post the sign up for the home buyers education courses, because I get a few calls about that a day as well, but in the middle of my jumbled brain and everything else I have going on, I never get back to a few people that have been requesting that information. And so I think the visibility on social media will definitely help if we put it out there that some people are currently looking, because I've had a few people call and ask me about that. And I would love for them to get in on the May 15th course if possible.
Thank you, Board Member James. That is currently on our content calendar for tomorrow's post.
Okay,
So
okay,
we'll
awesome.
do that.
Will it be too late for someone to sign up for it?
No.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up. So thank you very much, Raquel. Next item is presentations. Our first presentation is by Bob Swindell, CEO of Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. Go back up.
Candido.
Okay, I think I'm on. Thank you very much, Mary Llewellyn. I really want to send my thanks to Raquel as well for the invitation to join you for a couple minutes today, and my thanks to the commission members and the CRA board. Raquel wanted me to touch on a couple of basic things, like what's happening with unemployment, and then talk about some of the things that we're looking forward for good news. But the bad news to start off with, in the past month, we had 52,000 people apply for unemployment just in Broward County, and those are actually applications that were received, so we know that there's more out there. It's 5% of the total workforce in Broward County, which is unfortunately a record. The top 3 occupations that have been impacted, no surprise to any of you, are accommodations and food, administrative support, and retail. They actually account for 40% of those claims. The good news is we feel that that those jobs could return pretty quickly if we have a strong recovery and consumers feel safe and are willing to go back out into the environment and go to restaurants and begin to spend locally. As of March of this year, there were 826 jobs that were open in Dania Beach alone and 5,500 in Hollywood. There is some hiring going on, but it is limited. But big companies like AutoNation, who had to lay off 26% of their workforce, or about 7,000 people, they've already hired 1,000 people back. Now that's spread across their 35 states AutoNation covers. But Mike Jackson, the CEO of AutoNation, was on CNBC yesterday morning on Squawk Box and was talking about the trends that they're seeing. Car sales are up. The sales this past month, the last 2 weeks of April, were much stronger than the first 2 weeks. So they're seeing some positive momentum, and that's folks, buying from home and buying remotely. But those things are happening. A little bit about resources, and I know that Raquel's fielded a couple questions. We have a website called bizhelpbroward.com. It's bizhelpbroward.com. We're doing it in collaboration with Miami-Dade and Palm Beach. So there's a similar site, BizHelp Miami and BizHelp Palm Beach. But on that site are all the different resources that Raquel touched on, from the PPP, payroll or Paycheck Protection Plan, among other resources that are available to small businesses and businesses throughout Broward County. We've also have had a series of town hall calls. We do those every Thursday at 2 o'clock. You are more than welcome to participate. We'll be having a call again this Thursday at 2 o'clock. We'll have, for the first time ever, we'll have one of the top epidemiologists from NSU will be one of our speakers, and she will be talking about some of the work they're doing with Broward County in the antibody testing area, which is something that's, I think, real important as we look at reopening business, is being able to quantify how many people have been exposed to this virus that may not have had any symptoms at all, as well as just testing for positive reactions to the virus. So again, that knowing the impact of this disease and how many people have been affected by it is going to be very important as we watch for hotspots as we reopen and business begins to return back to normal. Another resource is the Florida Chamber Foundation has a Florida scorecard, but they also break it down by county. It's a great resource. You can go out, the Florida Chamber Foundation, you go to their website, there's an easy link to the scorecard, and it covers a lot of economic indicators for Broward County. But they've also added COVID-19 indicators. So as policymakers and leaders, Jerry Parrish is the chief economist for the Florida Chamber Foundation. The Florida Chamber is the only chamber in the United States as a full-time economist. Jerry Parrish will actually be on our call this Thursday at 2 o'clock as well. He's done some phenomenal work in trying to develop methodology to really gauge the impact this has had on Florida's economy. And he's actually working with our director of research at the Alliance. We want to create similar information for Broward County specific, so we can look at what the impact has been. But the good news on the virus is that while the number of cases continues to grow, and it will grow, that's the hard thing that people don't necessarily realize, that it's new cases, and the cases are cumulative. So it doesn't count the people that have recovered, that are back home or back at work again, that have had the virus. So that number does grow. But the good news is that the average cases per day over a 14-day period is decreasing. It's about 78 cases a day. So again, we're looking for 14-day trends as we think about, getting business back to normal. As you all are aware, Governor DeSantis excluded the 3 southern counties, the urban counties, from his executive order to allow businesses to start to reopen. You've also seen that Palm Beach has started its process in reopening. And at today's county commission meeting, they had a workshop. A lot of good feedback from the commissioners and the county administrator and their work with NSU on the testing, but also that there's, we realize that we've got to get businesses back open. The economic carnage that's been caused by this virus is something that's going to last with us for quite a while into the future. So I think there's a lot of consensus on, beginning that reopening process as early as perhaps Monday. But again, we'll be working with all the cities in Broward County and making sure that there's consensus. The idea is to try to get at a place where we'll have a safe environment, but begin to think about the Memorial Day weekend, which is the following weekend, and allow businesses the time to ramp up. We realize that they can't do that overnight. They'll need time to prepare. A little bit about job training and resources. Raquel asked me to talk a little bit about that. Broward College is working diligently to create more virtual online training for people that need certifications, especially folks that are going to be back out in the job market and may need an additional skill or certification to help them in the job search. There's also a construction apprentice program that Senator Steve Geller with the Broward County Commission has been advocating. If you go to YouTube, there's actually a Broward County channel. Broward County Gov, G-O-V, is the YouTube channel for Broward County. And you can encourage folks, there's a video on the construction apprentice program if they Google that. But it's a program where we're working with the county, construction firms, and the unions. It's interesting, we're convening meetings, and we've got leaders of the major construction firms sitting down with union leaders talking about ways to build up the skill set, because there's definitely a need for folks in the building trades. And with the county's new programs, when you look at the new convention center, the convention center hotel, a lot of projects that will need construction trade jobs. So there's strong opportunities that are available there. So we're trying to direct people to go in that direction. A little bit of insight into how the economy will rebound. I was just reading John Sylvia, who's the former chief economist for Wells Fargo, and he founded a advisory firm called Dynamic Economic Strategy. Is external to Florida, but he thinks Florida will be one of the first states to rebound. He thinks that we'll rebound much faster than the rest of the country. So I think that we've got external economists that are looking at what has traditionally been one of the strengths of South Florida is we typically come out of these downturns more quickly. I think that's going to be an important thing for us to focus on as we as leaders in Broward County, restore some confidence in our consumers. When you realize 70% of our economy is consumer transactions, it's important that that confidence be restored. We think that confidence, consistency across the county, and the strong sense of collaboration that we have in Broward County are going to be keys to our success. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, I don't know if you saw, but Stacy Ritter, her team last week did a presentation on the focus on the future. Again, it's on another YouTube presentation, but it really talks about focusing on the drive market and how we can encourage travelers and visitors to Broward County and take the place of some of the folks that we typically depend on with cruise lines and typical international travel. But Stacy's team has a really integrated and well thought out plan to begin to attract folks back to Broward County. We are fortunate that we have been working on diversifying our economy in Broward for the past decade. When I talk to my counterparts in Central Florida, while we think things are hard here, and they are, Central Florida has really been devastated by this, even to a larger degree than South Florida. And a lot of the credit that goes to the leadership of this community and working on diversifying our economy. I'll end with a couple of things that we're working on at the Alliance as we look on the other side of this virus and the economic crisis that's been created by this health crisis. We're working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Broward County Council of Chambers of Commerce, and several other partners on the I Love Local 2020 campaign. And this is designed to be a 90-day program. It's going to be an economic shot in the arm, but it's really about restoring consumer confidence and going out again and restoring, getting back to what normalcy is for a lot of us. I'm really happy that a lot of the cities, Mayor Ryan from the city of Sunrise, this morning shared with me his plan for Sunrise. They're embracing their outdoor dining, providing restaurants. They can use 2,000 square feet of outdoor space that's contiguous to the restaurant. Understanding that a 25% maximum at a restaurant's peak. Most restaurateurs I've talked to that it's not really, it would cost them money to bring back service folks and to have people dining inside at 25%. So if we can allow them to use outdoor dining, and fortunately we're still in the month of May, which has got, we've got fairly decent weather for that, then hopefully that will allow restaurants to begin to get revenue coming back in and be able to hire some of those 40% of the recently unemployed folks that have applied. We'll be sharing the program. I Love Local, we designed it to be very broad. So local is really in the eye of the beholder. And I promised Stacy Ritter, who said it's got to be inclusive. I'm like, well, we'll have a Live Like a Local campaign for anybody who's visiting Broward County. But it's designed to work with restaurants, retailers, special discounts. We'll have scavenger hunts. We'll have contests for posting pictures of you out with your family. We're trying to get our leaders like yourselves to sort of show your confidence in the system, that you're out eating at local restaurants and working with local companies in Broward County. And we're also going to be profiling our certified small businesses and trying to get some of our larger companies, our anchor institutions, large public and private employers, to look at products and services that they're buying right now from outside of Broward County. And perhaps there's a local small business that's certified that could fill that. Michael McDonald of Broward County on that particular initiative. So Keep your eye out for I Love Local 2020. There's actually a website that we've got up and running. We're doing this, we're building this plan as we're flying it. So trust me, we understand the urgency, but we really want to restore confidence in the consumer. I think that's going to be critically important. Safety has got to be paramount. We've got some local business leaders like Tim Bertrille with the restaurant people that have done some really creative things in how they're positioning with their employees and providing training, that everyone's embracing this and understands that as employees in the service industry, they've got to make customers feel very comfortable and very safe. And it's got to be policies that they're willing to embrace and adopt to. But ultimately, it'll be the compliance, and we want folks to be self-compliant. We realize that law enforcement and code enforcement doesn't have the time or the capability to go out there and enforce what the guidelines are going to be. We've got to get people, standing up and agreeing to do this to protect one another, and to have a really a sense of well-being for not only themselves but the people that are around them. So I'm looking forward to working with the city of Dania Beach and the other cities in Broward County on launching I Love Local. And Randy, with your chamber, has been a great partner in this, and it really is our chambers that are going to make this work for us. But Raquel, thank you again for the invitation, the opportunity. I'm happy to answer questions if there are any. But again, we appreciate all that you're doing to give Broward County an economic shot in the arm.
Thank you, Bob. I'm glad that you talked about that I Love Local, or the local advertising that you're going to do. I was going to ask you about that, but you've answered all my questions on that, so that's fantastic. Board Member James has a question for you.
Yes, thank you, Bob, and thank you for joining us. I wanted to touch a little bit on the restaurants with the outside dining, because that was going to be one of my talking points today, because I've received a few calls. It's in our CRA area, but I'm sure businesses and restaurants outside of our CRA area could benefit from it as well. Do you know the cities that are currently participating in the 25% capacity outdoor dining? Because that's something that I think I want us to kind of like take a look at and mimic that.
So that's a great question, Commissioner. And so the city of Sunrise, the city of Fort Lauderdale has developed a plan. And again, these are all contingent upon the governor and Broward County, issuing executive orders that allow the expansion and the restoration and easing of some of these guidelines to allow businesses to get back in business. Sunrise has done a great job because ultimately it's going to be it's going to be the cities that allow these restaurants. A lot of people are looking to the county, but ultimately it's going to be cities that allow restaurants the flexibility to use this outdoor space.
Right. So
the city of Sunrise has included in their executive order, and I'm sure Mayor Ryan, he sent it to me. I'm sure he'd be happy to share he shared it with some other cities, the language that they're using. But they think from the restaurateurs they've talked to, and there's actually, one of the Sunrise City Commissioners is a restaurateur himself, so he knows from his own experience. But that flexibility of using outdoor space is going to be really important. So you think they'll start Monday if that's what the governor's orders allow? So that's the sort of the focus right now is yes, if the governor's order allows Broward and Miami-Dade to move forward with their planning, I think as long as the county administrator and Mayor Jimenez and Miami-Dade feel like the safety precautions are in place and they've got guidelines that the restaurateurs and their employees are going to be comfortable with, and also make a safe space for the customers, then they would move forward on that. Realizing it would be a slow ramp up next week. Monday would be the first opening day, assuming that we can go into what they call phase one. But ultimately, the idea is really to ramp up for Friday and what will be Memorial Day weekend. Okay, thank you.
Hold on, Board Member Brandon Marty. I've got other people ahead of you. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Hi, Bob. Thanks again for coming. Quick question. So what do you think is the most impactful thing, if you had to pick one thing, that the city could do to resuscitate the local economy?
I think the most important thing right now is making people feel confident and comfortable that the safety precautions are in place, that we're learning to manage and live with this virus. I think that the fact that employees and business owners business owners have the most to lose if we don't do this really, really well, because nothing could be worse than if we had a second spike and had to go back to sheltering at home. But I think folks need to see people like yourselves out and about, that you have confidence. And if someone has a prevailing health issue or is at an age that's at risk, by all means, they should shelter at home and they should continue doing what they're doing. But healthy adults that again, wear a face mask, follow the policies that have been prescribed in the guidelines. You can go out, and I've talked to folks that have traveled to Georgia recently, been to the west coast of Florida, in Naples and Marco Island. Folks are out, in restaurants again, and people are following the guidelines. So
Sure.
again, but people have to, your police department and your code enforcement, it can't be, thrust upon their shoulders that they've got to go in and measure, okay, there's 100 tables in the restaurant and there's 30 seats that are occupied. The owner of the restaurant's got to kick 5 people out of the restaurant. That's not going to work. So, the restaurateurs, the business people have to comply with this and embrace the spirit that is being developed, and know that as soon as we can get to larger maximums, whether it's 50% in phase 2, if that's what the county decides and how they phase this in, and the cities agree, we've got to, as consumers and as residents, responsible residents, embrace this. But that's how I think you could really have an impact, is restoring that confidence in the people in Broward County.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Board Member Harris.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, Commissioner. Good to see you.
Likewise. When I was listening to the Broward County Commission workshop today, Commissioner Udine more or less favored the 50% of the restaurants opening. Did you know if there will be a determination of whether we start at 50 or we start at 25? What's your opinion on that? So, yeah.
So, to be quite honest, the 25% figure was a figure that was sort of arrived at by policymakers and not by restaurateurs. I think people felt like it sounded like a safe way. If when we went the other direction and we closed down and limited restaurants to 50% as we moved to 0 and closed the restaurants down from inside dining altogether, I think folks felt like, well, when we back out of this, the 25% sounds like a reasonable way to go to restore business. And while that does sound reasonable on its face, when you talk to restaurateurs, we're like, for us to bring back service, we wait staff and have people working back in the restaurant, 25% of our peak. So at the 7:30, 8 o'clock hour, when most people want to go out to eat, the most people I can have in my facility are 25%. That's not going to work for my business. So I understand, and I've talked to Commissioner Udine about this. I know the restaurateurs would like to get to 50% as quickly as possible. I'm hoping that the outdoor dining ability, and cities like Fort Lauderdale are actually talking about closing down Las Olas Friday afternoon to Sunday early evening, and allow the restaurants to put tables out actually onto the road and create more outdoor dining space. So I think communities have to look at some non-traditional ways to allow business. If 25%, that the health experts say that with distance spacing and 25% being the right way to go, that I think it's going to be hard pressed. And I don't know that the county would have the ability to go to 50% if the governor still says that we would be capped at a phase 1, which would be 25%.
Okay. And then one more question. Would the Las Olas Business Association be able to make the determination on the closing of the street, or would that be the county?
That would actually be the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
So, and I think that, obviously the merchants would have to say, hey, we think this is a good idea. But you've got, leaders like Mike Weymouth, the company that owns Riverside Hotel, who's not a big fan of closing Las Olas, saying, no, we should do this. We need to give our restaurateurs the ability to to restore enough business where they can hire people back. And it's really about getting those folks back into getting jobs and getting compensation that have been, withheld from their livelihood for the past 8 weeks.
Thank you.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Swindell. I like
Commissioner?
what you're, hi there. My husband works right there on Las Olas at Cafe Europa. So I was aware about them closing that street down. And I think that was a wonderful idea. I like that. It would enable them to bring back more employees that way. You got 25 employees and you have a small restaurant, and you know where Cafe Europa is, right?
Yep.
It's a small restaurant. The outside seats, what is there, about maybe 6? But the 25% to me is a safety issue, because no matter what we say, we still don't know if after we do the 25%, we made a mistake by doing the 50% and this virus spikes again. Question. My mayor would have the right to make it 25% no matter what the governor says. Am I right on that?
I don't know.
No, that's not true.
In other words, he can force us to open 50%.
I think
Wow.
that from what I understand of the policy, the governor can set like the minimum, but if the city mayor wanted to make things more strict, the mayor could. But the governor's going to sort of set the maximum that we can allow, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, that's what I meant. That's really what I meant. Maybe I didn't say it right. I want to ask you something. If we said, oh, it's safe, go on and take your wife and kids and go to that restaurant, and the unfortunate happens, is there anybody who has liability in this situation, since we told them, go there, it's fine? I want to know about that. It's important to me.
Commissioner, it's a great question. It's an important question. I know that
Yes.
Mark Wilson, the president of the Florida Chamber, has been talking about this a lot. The potential for lawsuits, and for, unfortunately, the worst, and someone gets sick after going out to a restaurant and they follow all the protocols. I think, part of it is you almost look at the European model. If everyone put their best effort forward, it's difficult to assign liability. And how do you pinpoint where the disease actually was, where someone actually contracted the disease? But I think ultimately the Florida legislature is going to have to look at this specific issue and say that, if all the precautions were followed, we can't penalize the business if they've done everything we told them they could do. And we know that this is evolving science. I mean, we don't know if you have antibodies, if that's really going to prevent you from, getting the disease 12 months from now. I mean, this is, the unfortunate thing about this is our scientists and our researchers are learning about this every day like we are. But I think, our best estimate, but at the end of the day, I am still worried about the repercussions of this from the economic impact, that I think it's going to far outweigh the folks that actually die from a direct exposure to this virus.
Wow. I really got to tell you the truth. I don't like that sentence at all. I really don't, because it's like saying you're going to die anyway, so what's the difference? And I know one thing, if I knew that a person came into the restaurant and that's where they got it, the restaurant is destroyed forever.
Yeah.
You know that, and I know it. I feel so comfortable with 25%, because I know once we make a mistake, it's easy to walk it back. 50%, when you open that can of worms, it's hard to walk it back.
Yeah, I have a strong, Commissioner, you make great points, and I have a strong feeling that the outdoor dining is going to be one of the saving graces. If we can really allow businesses to do that,
right,
and maintain the 25% inside, it gives them the volume that they need. We know that being outdoors, the power of sunlight in defeating this virus is important. That allowing businesses to have that flexibility is going to be critically important. And that's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to the cities that allow that to happen. But I think it's going to be an important part of the mix.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't see any other hands. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Bob, and I'm sure we'll see you again probably this week on another call.
Yes. Thanks again, and please, if you want to tune in our business town hall on Thursday at 2 o'clock, you're more than welcome to do that. But Raquel, thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Our next presenter is Victoria Guerrero, who is the District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Where is she? There she is. There she is. Perfect.
Hi there. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to your meeting. I really appreciate it. I just want everyone to know that the SBA is here for small businesses, not only during time of disasters, but throughout the year. Earlier in the conversation, I heard the question was asked, what resources do small businesses have? And one thing I want to bring up before I go into the PPP program is that the SBA has resource partners throughout the nation and here in Florida. So if folks go to sba.gov/local-assistance and they put in the zip code that they're in, they're going to get a list of all of our resource partners that can offer them free services. It's, business coaching at free services or very low cost. And right now they're helping all of the small businesses with any questions that they have in reference to our disaster programs. They can help them fill out the application. They can help them review their finances, put the package together, make sure everything is good to go before they submit it. So that's something I just kind of want to put out there for everyone to know that it is available for all of our small businesses. In speaking with Raquel, she had asked if I can provide an update on where we are with the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection program. I do want everyone to know that there's still funding available. So if you know of small businesses and they haven't applied, they can still go ahead and apply. The way they do that is that they go to a local bank. Now, my recommendation is to go to a community bank or a credit union. The smaller banks are the ones that are able to turn those applications around in about 10 days. If they go to a large bank, many of them stopped receiving applications because they're just so backed up. And many times the small business owner cannot talk to someone at the bank if it's a larger bank. If they go to the community banks, there's people there that they can also help. They can help them. In reference to the amount of loans that have been approved, I kind of looked up two zip codes in your area. In zip code 33004, during the first round of the PPP program, there were 102 loans that were approved. During the second round, there was 317 loans that were approved. In zip code 33312, during the first round, there was 194 loans that were approved, and during the second round, there were 708 loans that were approved. So if we combine all this together, a total of approved loans currently is 1,321, and every day we're accepting and reviewing and approving more. So I do want to share that with you on a general scale. If you're interested in learning, generally nationwide, for the second round of the PPP program, we've had about $189 billion that have been dispersed to small businesses, and this covers about 2.5 million loans for the PPP program. And again, we still have funding, so we're encouraging folks to apply if they haven't. We also have another program that is our traditional economic injury disaster loan program. And for that program, we have an advance that small businesses can get up to $10,000 in advance that they do not have to repay. It's forgivable. And that's $1,000 per every W-2 employee you have, up to $10,000. On the advance nationwide, we've done 3 million applications that have been approved, and that's almost $10 billion that has been dispersed. And every day there's more money moving out the door into our small business community. For the traditional economic injury disaster loans, have recently approved up to about 78,000 applications, which translates into $11.5 billion that have been approved and dispersed into the small business community. Now, to talk a little bit of on on the PPP program, in case folks may ask you, it is a forgivable loan, which is what's very nice about it and what's attracted many individuals to apply for it. So for this particular loan, the government is providing small businesses up to 2 months of what their average monthly payroll cost would be, plus 25% additional to cover any utilities, any rent, and any mortgage interest that they may need to pay. So if the funds are utilized in this manner, it will be 100% forgiven at the end of the day. So a minimum of 75% of the funds need to go to payroll within the next 8 weeks from the time that they receive the funding. The main goal of the PPP program is to keep our folks employed. So minimum 75% need to go to payroll. You can do 100% to payroll. It's up to the business owner. But if you do 75%, it gives you an additional 25% to utilize for rent, utilities, or mortgage interest payments. If you utilize it in this manner, you will have 100% of that loan forgiven after those 8-week period that we spoke about. There's no collateral. There's no personal guarantee. There is no cost to apply. You can go and apply with different banks if you want. Some banks are faster than others, and folks need not worry about any fraudulent applications, because the way it works is that the first application SBA receives, that's the one they're going to go with. If they get any duplicate applications, those will be canceled, and they will get a response based on that first application that we received. I do want to say that if the small business owner needs to use that funding for something else that is not in those categories, let's say that they need to buy some additional inventory, they can do that, but they would have to pay back that percentage of funding at 1% interest rate over the next 2 years. The deadline to apply is June 30th, but I wouldn't wait till the very last minute, because although we do have funding right now, it goes, every week, millions of dollars are being distributed to our small businesses. If folks want to find out a bank that is close to them that is accepting applications, they can go to sba.gov/Paycheck Protection /find. And I'll leave it at that. One thing I do want to mention that we get a lot of questions are those that are eligible. So it's very broad. Basically, any small business, unless you're in the gambling arena, casinos, racetracks, those are not eligible. But small businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors. So if you have individuals that are 1099s, apply directly to the PPP program. The same as self-employed employees. They can also apply directly to the PPP program. So I did want to share that because a lot of folks think that if they're a 1099 that they cannot apply, but they can. And again, we will help them. My South Florida office has webinars and virtual office hours many times throughout the day. We've been doing it since mid-March and we'll continue to do it. So we can speak to individuals directly and they can get a live person to speak with. But like I said, they can also go to our resource partners by going to sba.gov/local-assistance, putting in their zip code, and they can see who's closer to them to put assist them. So I'll leave it at that for right now. And I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer them.
I just want to ask you one real quick. And I know we have another hand up as well. The PPP loans, for example, I know it's 8 weeks. They have to distribute the funds and start moving from there, or else it's not going to be forgivable. Is there any discussion about extending that time period? Because that's a question that comes up a lot because we're getting close to the 8 weeks of the original time period when these loans were first issued.
Well, the 8 weeks is from the time that they receive their funds. So sometimes people say, oh my goodness, I'm not going to make it before the June 30th deadline. The June 30th deadline is to apply for the PPP program. But if those 8 weeks extend over that June 30th deadline, it's perfectly fine. It's just from the time that they receive the funding. But to answer your question, I haven't heard anything coming down the pipeline from headquarters about extending it to maybe 10 weeks or 12 weeks. What I've been told, it's 8 weeks. They should continue to pay their employees their full salary. If they have furloughed employees, they are required to request the employees to come back. If the employees choose not to, they have that, that choice. But if they are on unemployment, they do take a risk of being dropped from that unemployment because they're essentially being offered a job. So, we need to tell the employees that, and of course they can't do both. They have to do one or the other. So we're going to continue having webinars to get the information back. And if you ever need me to come back and, do more of a deeper dive, I'm more than happy to. And if there's any areas in your community you want us to reach out to and do a deeper effort in giving the information out, just let me know where you think that is needed, and I'm happy to do that.
Great, thank you, Victoria.
Absolutely.
Vice Chair, did I ask the question you were going to ask?
You did. You read my mind.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up, so thank you very much, Ms. Guerrero. Oh, I'm sorry, Raquel. Go ahead.
That's quite all right. I just wanted to extend my thanks as well. Thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and please stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, so our next item is consent agenda. I don't know if we have any polls. I'm going to pull 5.3 so that the individuals can speak on it, but I don't think they have a presentation or anything. So, Board Member James, do you have a poll? You're gonna have your hand up. I can't hear you. Hold on.
Unmute myself. Am I unmuted?
I hear you.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, it was going to be 5.3, so it's fine.
Good.
Since
So we'll
you've
pull
done it.
5.3. Any other polls? No. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve 5.3.
Or 5.3 or the rest of the consent agenda?
I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 5.3.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. City Attorney, 5.3. Unmute you. There you go, you're unmuted.
Yeah, okay. A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing execution of a development agreement with 4 North Federal Dania LLC, a Florida limited liability company, to receive funding in connection with the Broward Redevelopment Program BRP grant in the amount of $1 million for the project located at the northeast corner of Federal Highway and East Dania Beach Boulevard within the City of Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Area, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Okay. Did you want to speak first, Board Member, or do you want me to go ahead and call?
Well, I would speak first, and maybe they can just answer it within, or maybe Raquel can answer it before they get started. But I just wanted to know what the total financial investment for the project was. So somewhere along there, I wanna know that question.
Good.
Well, I just want to highlight that the CRA's investment in this project is $1 million, and that $1 million is going to be funded through the BRP grant from Broward County. But looking at the larger picture of investment dollars related to this project, we're going to see anywhere between 78 million and about 82, 83 million dollars worth of investment within our redevelopment area on Federal Highway and West Dania Beach and East Dania Beach Boulevard. So this project brings a significant investment to our redevelopment area, which of course is going to enhance our tax base. So the $1 million that we would be contributing is a smaller piece of a larger project, which is going to do a lot for economic development within the city and within the CRA. And the developers are here and they can speak to that if they would like to, I'm sure.
I was going to call Deb Motwani. Did you want to speak at all?
Hi there, it's Dev, and Dale from my team is on as well. We're just here to answer questions, but Raquel got the number right. It's around $80 million total investment for the project.
Okay, so just for the record, we have Deb Motwani and Dale Reed here. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve item 5.3.
I'll second it.
Okay. Call the roll, please. There it is.
Thank you. Board Member Brandivart,
Yes.
Board Member Harris,
Yes.
Board Member James,
Yes.
Vice Chair Odman,
Yes.
Chair Llewellyn.
Yes,
Carries 5-0.
thank you. Okay, so there are no proposals and bids, no discussion and possible action. Board member comments. Board member Brandemar, do you have any comments tonight?
No, not really, just for everybody to please be safe.
Board member Harris? Nothing? You're shaking your head no, but Tom can't hear you.
Wait a second.
There you go. You're unmuted. Hold on.
This time.
Nothing
You
at
hear
this time, you said?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing at this.
Okay, board member James.
Yes, and I'm not sure which meeting is more appropriate, but I'm bringing it up here because I definitely want to speak about our downtown restaurants. I'm sure many of you all have been dealing with the different businesses and seeing how desperate they're in need. And while I understand the 25%, because that is the safest way to start things, I'm not sure with rent and food and payroll if 25% could really float a lot of these businesses who are on the verge of either closing permanently, filing for bankruptcy, and are they're paying out of their savings to try and look out for employees. Because a lot of the businesses, the reasons why they haven't closed is because they have a heart and they are afraid of what's going to happen once those employees lose their jobs. And so I did want to, entertain that conversation to see what percentage, if the governor approves the flexibility in the EO, I wanted to make sure that we are discussing actively as a board and a commission what we all are comfortable with. I've spoken to a few of the restaurants, and I'm not sure if that's something that you all want to vet with the restaurants as well to see. Although 25% on our end looks good, financially it isn't a big help for the restaurant to have 75 employees and they still have to pay rent and utilities and insurance costs and benefits and everything else. So that's my only comment, but I wanted to kind of see what we are going to do about that or what our thoughts are on that.
Board member, I think both the vice mayor and I both have items on discussion and possible action tonight on the city commission meeting, where I think it might be a better place to talk about it because there's a few things. I actually have another conference call tomorrow as well with the other mayors and the mayor of Broward County, and I encourage you to watch the commission meeting today, the workshop today, where they were discussing what they're going to do. So it might be better served that we wait until then to discuss it because it will cover all the businesses, not just the restaurants, but all the businesses at that point. I think it would be a good time to discuss everything, and it would be not just CRA district, but the city as a whole.
That's fine. So if anyone is on here listening to it, please stick around for the commission meeting so we'll be able to discuss those items. Thank you.